The first thing they took was my name, then my clothes, my rank, and finally my dignity. By the time the Drazhari warriors dragged me onto the command deck of their Dreadnought, I was just a soft-skinned prisoner in a gray utility tunic, a nameless human who had made the mistake of being on a colony ship that strayed too close to contested space. My name is Cora Jensen, formerly Lieutenant Cora Jensen of the Colonial Defense Force. Formerly, because my uniform was now a pile of ash in their incinerator, and my rank meant less than nothing to a species that viewed all humans as either pests or prey. The Drazhari had been expanding rapidly through the sector, their black dreadnoughts appearing without warning, demanding submission or announcing annihilation. Our ship, the Hopeful, had been neither. We were settlers, not soldiers, families, not fighters, but to the Drazhari, we were simply trespassers. The command deck was a cathedral of terror. Jagged black metal arches rose into shadow, interspersed with pulsing red energy conduits that throbbed like arteries. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and something metallic, underlaid by a musky, predatory odor that made my hindbrains scream danger. Rows of Drazhari warriors lined the walls, their feathers sleeked flat against their bodies in what I would later learn was an aggressive posture. Their golden eyes tracked my every movement with predatory focus. And at the center of it all, on a raised dais surrounded by holographic displays of star charts and tactical data, stood Commander Ssathis. She was the largest Drazhari I had ever seen, easily 7 feet tall, with feathers of deep midnight blue shot through with streaks of electric violet. A sweeping crest swept back from her brow like a crown of knives, and her eyes were the color of molten gold, burning with an intensity that made me want to look away. I didn't. I had been trained to maintain eye contact, to show no fear. It was a small defiance, but it was all I had left. She studied me in silence for a long, agonizing moment. Then she stepped down from the dais and circled me slowly, her claws clicking against the metal floor with deliberate precision. The sound echoed in the vast space, each click a small hammer blow against my composure. "A female," she finally said, her voice translated by the small device they had clamped around my neck into a cold, precise whisper in my ear. Young, soft, unarmed. She stopped in front of me, tilting her head to study my face from inches away. Her breath was warm and carried that same metallic musk. The humans send their weakest to test our resolve? Or have we simply caught you so unprepared that even your children wander into our space? I kept my voice level. I am Lieutenant Cora Jensen of the Colonial Defense Force. The ship you seized was a civilian transport carrying families to a peaceful settlement. We have no weapons, no military objectives, no interest in your territory. I demand you release us immediately under the provisions of the Galactic Accord. Her beak-like mouth curved into something that might have been a smile on a human face. On her, it was a terrifying display of sharp edges. The Galactic Accord. You cling to your pieces of paper, your treaties, your laws as if they were shields. As if the universe cared about your demands. She laughed, a harsh, clicking sound that held no humor. There is only strength and weakness, predator and prey. And you, little human, are very clearly prey. She gestured to one of the warriors, who stepped forward and thrust a data pad into my bound hands. On it was a video feed from the Hopeful's cargo bay. My heart clenched. The settlers, families, children, elderly, were huddled together, surrounded by armed Drazhari. A young girl, no more than 5, was crying silently, her face pressed into her mother's side. "You're heard," Ssathis said, the word dripping with contempt. "They will be processed, sorted. The strong will be sold to labor colonies. The weak." She made a gesture with one clawed hand, a casual slicing motion. "The universe has no use for the weak." Something inside me cracked. Not my resolve, but something deeper. The careful wall of professional detachment I had maintained since being captured began to crumble, replaced by a cold, burning fury. I had spent my entire life following rules, respecting authority, believing that order and law would protect us from the dark. And here, standing before me, was the living proof that I had been wrong. The universe didn't care about my training, my rank, my carefully constructed worldview. It only cared about power. And in that moment, facing the embodiment of everything I had been taught to fear, I did something completely unexpected. I laughed. It wasn't a nervous giggle or a hysterical sob. It was a genuine, from-the-gut laugh, born of the absurd realization that I had spent my whole life preparing for the wrong war. I had trained to fight other humans, to navigate political disputes, to enforce colonial regulations. I had never once trained for this, for a 7-foot-tall bird woman who thought she could break me with threats and posturing. The sound cut through the tension like a blade. The warriors on the walls rustled their feathers in confusion. The one holding my bonds loosened his grip slightly, startled. And Commander Ssathis froze. Her golden eyes widened, the pupils contracting to pinpricks. Her crest flared out involuntarily, the midnight blue feathers ruffling in what I would later learn was pure, unadulterated shock. For a long, terrible moment, she simply stared at me as if I had sprouted a second head. Then she spoke, her voice low and dangerous. "You laugh. In the face of your species' extinction, you laugh." I met her gaze, still chuckling. "You want to know why I'm laughing? Because you're trying so hard. The ship, the warriors, the threats, the slow circling, the dramatic speeches about predators and prey. It's all so theatrical. You're not just trying to intimidate me. You're trying to give me a performance." The warriors exchanged uncertain glances. One of them took a half-step forward, but Ssathis raised a hand, stopping him. Her eyes never left mine. "You think this is theater?" she asked, her voice softer now, but somehow more dangerous. "I think you've done this before," I said. "I think you've stood on this deck 100 times, threatened 100 different species, watched them cower and beg. And I think you're good at it. Really good. But here's the thing about theater, Commander." I leaned forward slightly, as far as my bonds would allow. "Eventually, you get bored of the same play. You start hoping someone will improvise, will do something unexpected." The silence stretched. I could hear my own heartbeat, feel the sweat trickling down my spine. But I held her gaze, refusing to blink, refusing to break. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, something shifted in her expression. The rigid mask of dominance softened just a fraction. The golden eyes, still intense, now held a glimmer of something else. Curiosity. "You are not afraid of me," she said. It wasn't a question. "Oh, I'm terrified," I admitted. "I've never been more scared in my entire life. But here's the thing about fear, Commander. It's like fire. You can let it consume you, or you can use it to light your way. I choose to light my way." She stared at me for another long moment. Then, to the utter shock of every warrior on the deck, she did something none of them had ever seen. She laughed. It wasn't a harsh, predatory sound like before. It was a genuine, rumbling series of clicks and trills that seemed to come from deep in her chest. Her crest flared fully, the violet streaks brightening with what I would later learn was the Drazhari equivalent of a smile. The warriors around us actually took a step back, their golden eyes wide with disbelief. "A human who lectures me on theater," she said, still chuckling. "A soft skin who calls my warriors performers. You have either the most profound courage I have ever encountered, or the most profound stupidity. Can it be both?" I asked. Her laughter redoubled. When it finally subsided, she looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Then she turned to her warriors. "Leave us," she commanded. "All of you. Now." They hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. One of them, a grizzled veteran with a scarred beak, stepped forward. "Commander, the prisoner—" "Will not harm me," Ssathis interrupted. "She's unarmed and bound. And I find myself intrigued. Go!" Reluctantly, The warriors filed out, their feathers ruffled with confusion. When the last one had gone, the heavy doors sliding shut behind him, Ssathis turned back to me. She reached out and, with surprising gentleness, released the bindings on my wrists. "Sit," she said, gesturing to a low bench near the dais. I sat, rubbing my wrists. She settled onto the edge of the dais, her long legs folding beneath her in a way that looked almost comfortable. "You are the first prisoner in 20 cycles who has not begged," she said quietly. "The first who has not wept, or pleaded, or offered information in exchange for mercy. The first who has made me question. Question what?" She was silent for a long moment, her golden eyes fixed on some middle distance. "My place in all of this. The Drazhari are warriors. It is all we have ever been. We conquer, we dominate, we prove our strength. It is our purpose, our identity, our reason for existing. But lately," she trailed off, her feathers shifting through a pattern I couldn't interpret. "Lately," I prompted. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something other than the cold commander. I saw weariness, doubt, a crack in the armor. "Lately, I find myself wondering if there is more. If endless conquest is truly the only path. If strength is the only virtue." She let out a long, slow breath. "And then you laughed. In the face of everything I represent, everything I have built, you laughed. And for the first time in decades, I laughed too. Not the laugh of a predator toying with its prey. A real laugh. A shared laugh." I didn't know what to say, so I said the only thing that came to mind. "Maybe that's the point. Maybe the universe isn't just predator and prey. Maybe there's room for other things." She considered this. Other things. Like what? Like connection. Like understanding. Like two people from different worlds sharing a laugh on a warship. She was quiet for a long time. Then she stood and walked to a console, her claws tapping rapidly. A holographic display flickered to life, showing the hopeful and its captured settlers. "Your people," she said. "They will be released, transported to neutral space with full provisions." I stared at her, stunned. "Just like that?" She turned to face me, and in her golden eyes, I saw something I never expected to see in a Drazhari commander. Respect. "Just like that," she confirmed. "You have given me something I did not know I was missing. A reminder that strength comes in many forms. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to laugh in its face. That perhaps..." She hesitated, then continued. "Perhaps the Drazhari have been fighting the wrong war. Perhaps the true conquest is not of territory, but of understanding." I stood, my legs unsteady. "Commander Ssathis, I don't know what to say." "Say you will remember this moment," she replied. "Say that when your people tell stories of the Drazhari, they will tell of the commander who learned to laugh. And say that if our paths cross again, it will be as, what is your word? Friends." I nodded, a smile spreading across my face. "Friends." She extended her hand, claws retracted, palm up. I placed my palm against hers, the gesture of peace she had taught me through our brief exchange. For a long moment, we stood there, an alien commander and a human prisoner, connected by something neither of us had expected. Then she withdrew her hand and gestured to the door. "Go. Your people await. And Cora Jensen." I turned at the door. "Next time, try not to get captured. It's bad for my reputation." I laughed, and this time she joined me. 3 months later, I stood on the observation deck of a neutral space station, watching as a small Drazhari shuttle docked with the station. Commander Ssathis emerged, her midnight blue feathers gleaming under the artificial lights. She spotted me through the observation window and raised a hand in greeting. Beside me, Governor Malik of the newly established Human Drazhari Trade Commission shook his head in wonder. "I still can't believe it," he murmured. "A year ago, they were our enemies. Now they're our biggest trading partners. All because you laughed." I smiled, watching as Ssathis made her way through the station corridors towards us. Not just because I laughed, I corrected. Because she was brave enough to laugh with me. He looked at me quizzically. Brave? She's a 7-foot-tall warrior queen. What's brave about laughing? I thought about that moment on the Dreadnought, about the centuries of conditioning Ssathis had overcome, about the risk she had taken in showing vulnerability to a prisoner. The bravest thing anyone can do, I said quietly, is let someone see the crack in their armor. Because you never know what might grow through it. The door slid open, and Ssathis entered, her golden eyes finding mine immediately. A smile curved her beak, a real smile, warm and genuine. Cora Jensen, she clicked. Still not cowering, I see. Still not begging, I replied. She extended her hand, palm up, and I placed mine against it. Around us, humans and Drazhari alike watched in wonder, witnessing something that no treaty could have created, no negotiation could have forged. A friendship born of a laugh in the dark.